Hello everybody, and welcome to this little fairy tale session from the Arctic part of northern Norway. We are right now at the 69th parallel in the city of Tromsø, and I would like to share with you an ancient fairy tale that is more than 300 years old. So, here we go. Once upon a time, there was a poor young fisherman, and his name was Bodvar. He lived all by himself in a little fjord, way, way, way up north in the land of the northern lights and the midnight sun. He didn't have much in life, but he did have an old boathouse and an old rowing boat, and the best thing Bodvar knew was to go down and sit by the boathouse and look out to the horizon, and he saw the fish jump out there, and then he went out to catch some fish for dinner. And when he was sitting there, sometimes he had a little campfire there, other times he just listened to the seagulls and the oyster catchers and the big Arctic waves raging. One autumn evening, Bodvar was down by his boathouse. He really wanted to go out and catch some fish for dinner. So he jumped into his rowing boat, and then he started to row. He was so excited. He could see the fish jump out there. And as he was rowing, he was singing a song to himself. Se nå stilne alle båran, og det skjømmes mens jeg ror. Det blir blått rundt begge åran, for en kald krok i en fjord. But all of a sudden, he could see the big, thick Arctic sea fog crawling down from the mountains, and it was surrounding his boat. He didn't know it was up or down, east or west. And the waves got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was tossing his boat back and forth across the fjord. And Bodvar, he really got afraid. He was scared, because what if the sea monster, the Draug, came up from the bottom of the Arctic Ocean, stretching his skeleton hand up there, trying to grab the little rowing boat and pull him down under, because then Bodvar would be doomed. He would never come back home again. So Bodvar was so afraid, because it was like he could see the Draug coming up from the Arctic Ocean. So he crawled down into the bottom of the boat, and there he fell asleep. And he didn't wake up until the next morning. And when he opened his eyes, he could see he was at a place he had never been before. What kind of an odd place is this? I cannot see anyone, not a single soul. And it's a haze hanging over the island. But out on the point was a white mansion, and Bodvar went over there. And he knocked on the door. No one answered. So he knocked again. And then the door opened by itself. Hello? Anyone home? No one answered. So Bodvar went inside the big mansion, and he came to the kitchen. And there was a table set with all the delicious food you can think of. Fish soup, fish stew, boiled fish, fried fish, gratinated fish, dried fish. And Bodvar couldn't help himself. He had to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and of course some Arctic coffee afterwards. And you know, having all this delicious fish to eat, you get really, really tired. So Bodvar, he wanted to have a little cat nap. So he climbed up the stairs to the second floor, and in the end of the corridor, he could see a door. He went over and he opened the door gently. And in that room was a bed. And someone was sleeping in that bed. He tiptoed over. And lo and behold, it was a beautiful princess sleeping in that bed. It was the most beautiful princess Bodvar had ever seen in his life. Well, actually, he hadn't seen any princesses before. This was the first one. And she was really beautiful. And in the same minute, the princess opened her eyes and she said, "Oh, who are you and what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here." "Well, I'm Bodvar, a poor young fisherman. And there was a big storm last night and my boat ended up here. So can you please tell me, what's your name and what's the name of this odd place?" "Oh," said the beautiful princess, "I wish I could tell you, but you see, this island is under the spell of a gigantic ugly troll. And he told me that if I ever said my name out loud and someone told it to someone else, then he will come and marry me. So I don't dare to tell you my name or the name of this place." And a tear was running down her cheek. Later that afternoon, Bodvar and the beautiful young princess were having some leftover fish stew for dinner. They were sitting by the kitchen table, looking out at the beautiful, beautiful sky. And Bodvar had been thinking the whole day. And then he said to the princess, "Beautiful princess, I've stayed with you this whole day, and you know what? That made me think. I live all by myself. I only have a little rowing boat. I'm quite poor, and I'm lonely. I wish I could stay here forever, together with you. Maybe we could start a family. And I don't need to tell your name out loud to anyone, because it will only be you and me here. What do you think about that?" And the princess blushed, and she said, "Oh, you see, the same thought crossed my mind. I really like you too. And you're welcome to stay here with me," she said with a smile. Then Bodvar whispered to her, "Well, since I'm going to stay here with you, I think you should tell me your name, and I promise I will not say it out loud to anyone. I don't want you to be married to a troll if you're going to be married to me." And then the princess said, "I trust you with my life." And she whispered, "My name is Lady Kvitserk of Utrøst Island. But shh, don't say it out loud, then you know what happens." Late in the evening, Bodvar were down by the boathouse, trying to put his fishing gear into the boathouse, when all of a sudden the big thick sea fog was there again, surrounding his boat. And in the fog it was like Bodvar could hear voices. "Bodvar, Bodvar, hvor er du henne? Bodvar, er du der? Bodvar! Bodvar, where are you? Are you safe?" And Bodvar, you know, being a man, short memory span, he answered, "Oh, don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'm staying with Lady Kvitserk of Utrøst Island." And in the same minute he realized what he had done. His heart almost stopped. What if? And then he ran back to the white mansion. Lady Kvitserk was gone. The troll had taken her and was going to marry her, as he had promised. And Bodvar, he was heartbroken, devastated. He did not know what to do, but he realized he really needed to find Lady Kvitserk before it was too late. So he ran over the hills and far away and down into the neighboring fjord. And there he saw an old house, and he knocked on the door, and a squeaky old voice said, "Come in." Who are you and what are you doing here? It was an old lady, and she was baking some lefse. Arctic lefse, I might add. Who are you and what are you doing here? Oh, I'm Bodvar, and I'm looking for Lady Kvitserk. Have you seen her? No, I'm just minding my own business, making some lefse. Do you want to taste a bit? Here you go. Oh, thank you. I have not seen Lady Kvitserk, but wait a minute. You can follow this rolling pin and then you'll see what happens. And she threw the rolling pin out of the door, and Bodvar had to run after it. And it bounced over to the next fjord. And it stopped in front of a cabin under the boulders. Bodvar knocked the door, and a squeaky old voice said, "Come in." And in the dark was an even older lady sitting, and she was knitting. Who are you and what are you doing here? Oh, I'm Bodvar, and I'm looking for Lady Kvitserk. Have you seen her? No, I'm just sitting here knitting. But wait a minute. You can follow this ball of yarn and then you'll see what happens. And then she took the ball of yarn and she threw it out the door, and Bodvar, he ran after it, and it bounced over to the next fjord. And it stopped when it was almost down by the water. It was an old, teeny tiny little cabin. And Bodvar knocked the door and no one answered, so he knocked again. And he could hear someone inside. Come in. And in the dark was an old lady. She must have been 150 years old. I mean my age. And then she was scooping water from one barrel to another. Who are you and what are you doing here? She said. Oh, I'm Bodvar, and I'm looking for Lady Kvitserk. Have you seen her? No, what? I'm Bodvar, and I'm looking for Oh, you don't need to scream, I'm not deaf. So you're looking for Lady Kvitserk, huh? Well, I think she's going to be married right about now. Can't you hear the church bells? She said. Oh no, you have to help me. She's going to be married to me, Bodvar said. Wait a minute, said the old lady. And she scooped up some water and she said, you take this with you up to the church. And when you see the big troll, you just take the water and you throw it over the troll, and then you'll see what happens. And Bodvar, he took the scoop, and the lady said, remember, don't you spill a drop. And Bodvar, he took the scoop and he ran all the way up to the church, and in the same minute, he saw a big wagon pulled by 6 white horses. And in that wagon was Lady Kvitserk and the ugly old troll. Get out of my way, we're going to be married today, screamed the troll. Oh, let's see about that, said Bodvar. And then he took the scoop of water and he threw it over the troll, and whoosh, the troll evaporated in thin air, never to be seen again. And in front of Bodvar was Lady Kvitserk and the 3 old ladies, because that was Lady Kvitserk's godmothers. And then they went into the church, and Bodvar and Lady Kvitserk, they got married. And afterwards, well, then they went back to the white mansion out on the point, on the beautiful island of Utrøst. And of course, they lived happily ever after in the land of the northern lights and the midnight sun. And snip, snap, snout, now the tale is out. Dusk is silently approaching as I am rowing in the night. My oars are singing in the water, and the moon is shining bright, and the star shows the direction to my boat house by the shore. I am once more safely homebound, safe from raging ocean's roar. And thank you everyone for listening to this ancient old Arctic fairy tale. Bye bye for now.